What Michael Jordan is an individual. He's a great basketball player, and his ability to bring others around him to make them better was his superpower. What LeBron has taught me, LeBron is a CEO. He doesn't take people, well, he not only takes talent around him and makes them play better, he gets the best talent.
Yeah,
Welcome to the Disruptance Podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric Forney and Michael Bounds.
So the next strategy is focus on results. Focus on the bigger picture and the desired result, not just the time and effort required.
You know, Mike, we talked about that really to start with, which is the time on task does not equal value, right? And somehow that's been lost on most. And look, arguably because there are roles where time on task does matter.
Yeah.
Task-related jobs, working a toll booth, working in a cafeteria on an assembly line could be one of those things. There are some time on task related jobs. The fear I have about time on task related jobs is automation.
Yeah.
And so in a world where technology is deflating the value of the labor market, you have to be adding value in order to generate additional value and an irreplaceable worth to a company.
Yeah. So as an entrepreneur, I'm thinking big vision. And so within that vision, I cast a vision, and then within that vision, there's certain tasks or there's certain action steps that I have to do in order to attain that vision. The problem is, as an entrepreneur, is you're thinking big vision. And a lot of times as an entrepreneur, you're right. You start off doing all of those tasks in order to get the goal. We just kind of conflate. We're thinking that those tasks is the solution in and of itself. And it's not the task, it's the result.
So for a real estate agent, how do I see this fallacy show up a lot. That's like experience, right? Oh, I've been in the business for 20 years, right. Or
you sold 6 houses a year for 20 years.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Right? It's like we call that 1 year. I see that, and then I see the prescription of just lead generate for 2 hours, for 3 hours, for 4 hours, whatever that number is. And the reality is if you pick up the phone and you call 1,000 people and you don't set an appointment with any of them, did you actually work?
Right.
Now you could, if you're working to get better and you're reviewing, analyzing, assessing, improving, if you're working to improve
and
your
you're
skills, measuring, that's right. But if
it's a contact sport, so many contacts you make and then eventually they shake.
But none of it matters without the result eventually.
Right.
So you get that ramp up skill building time frame where time on task is the way you build skill, and then the result has to show up, or time on task is not worth keeping.
But I mean, so for example, you gave a lead generating, say you're making phone calls, and say you're making those phone calls and you don't have the results. That is an opportunity. What is it that I am doing wrong? What am I not doing in order to get the result? And then now you have to go to the drawing board. What is it that the Eric Forneys are doing when they're lead generating, so that you can then, instead of like focus on the time on task, you're now focusing on the results of that. What am I doing that during that period of time that's leading to the end result?
Yeah, that was one of the questions we had that came up when we went to the KW office in Louisville this week was, how do you hack time as a real estate agent? Like, what are time efficiencies that you can utilize as an agent? And one of the best ways to make your time more efficient and to time hack is to actually just get better.
Yeah.
Like, one of the best ways to get your time back is to have world-class skills at converting and world-class skills at helping people solve the problems that they want to solve. Because what you find is you actually don't need to talk to hardly any people.
Yeah.
You may only need to talk to 1 or 2 people a day if your batting average is 1,000.
Yeah. I was getting coached this week, and in the coaching session, I was going over my numbers, and she asked me, she said, so, okay, like how many people are you signing, you're recruiting per month? And I gave her that number, and I know this is a numbers game. And so I have I've got two options. I can either increase my conversion, or I can call more people.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
So just understanding that, and then using that, like I can either practice and try to sign more people up, or if I don't want to do that, just set more appointments.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to add one thing I really liked was how to gain clarity on a desired result. And one question that you can ask that gets straight to it is, what does this look like when it's done and done well? I think that's a really good way to kind of find out and be aligned with what the result is actually going to end up looking like, and how people can get to that result more efficiently, kind of even based on their personality types and what kind of strengths that they can bring to the solution as well to get to that result. I would also add to what I like here, you've got highlighted, too often we start from the beginning with a goal and work through it without ever getting clear on our destination. Start with your destination, and you will immediately see how much effort is involved, the kind of time commitment you'll need to make, and the resources you'll need. Until you get clear on that, it's just a guessing game. So I really do think that you can end up spending a lot of time on stuff that doesn't matter if you're not exactly sure what you're trying to achieve. What are your thoughts on? So I know we kind of have talked about it before with goals. What do you think about, do you feel like you have to have a really specific destination to reverse engineer? Or do you feel like...
Yes.
Yep. I do too.
Yes. Here's one of the challenges I have is that if there's no specificity to it, you can chase it in perpetuity. Like if you're chasing a rainbow to achieve the pot of gold, you will chase the rainbow until you fall over and die. Mm-hmm. But if you're chasing the rainbow until you catch it, or you're quitting after 3 miles, you'll run 3 miles and stop.
Yeah.
And the reality is you'll have two totally different outcomes by having just one tiny sliver of specificity included in that goal. And, one of the examples that comes to mind that we've all been through recently in our own businesses, KW has shifted directions as a company, and it's the right direction. It's the direction of becoming a technology company. Right? The vision of KW is technology. The challenge with that is that is a massive goal.
Yeah.
And so having the specificity around what technology will do and how we will know what it will look like when we've arrived will change the dynamic of how quickly technology can be executed. And so we've seen leadership changes as a result of not being able to achieve that goal because it wasn't well defined. And so the technology team has been recently replaced within the company because the specificity of what the end result will look like wasn't well articulated and defined, and therefore they never arrived. And so they've been replaced by those with more defined technology-related goals to make KW the gold standard of technology for the real estate industry.
Yeah, if I want to drive my wife nuts, just tell her we're going to Florida.
Yeah, or going on vacation.
I'm not telling her when, and I'm not telling her where. We're just going to get in the car and show up. You know what? Now, if I say we're going to Disneyland or Disney World and we're going on this date and these are my plans and this is how we're going to get there and here's our itinerary, people often run their business like the ladder.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said something about that a weed a couple episodes ago, and then that's the result. That's what they have is a weed at the end. Mm-hmm. Because they just said, I want to start a real estate company. They didn't and then this is the thing. If you take the vision and then you chunk it down and you have clarity around what action steps you have to do, the energy level that's exerted in just having clarity and just knowing what it is that you're building.
It's the reason you hire a personal trainer because then you don't have to walk into the gym and see all of the weight equipment in front of you, all the exercise equipment with no direction on
That's
what
why we
you're
go
gonna
to a therapist.
Do.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely right.
It's exactly it's literally it's somebody giving you a roadmap, and
That's
you
right.
that's why you have a therapist, that's why you have a coach, that's why you have it's
And agents should be used to this.
Yeah.
It's the thing that we're hired to do for people. Right? If somebody has a desired outcome to move into a house, it is the agent's sole responsibility to be fiduciary in helping them accomplish that.
to be a
by
therapist,
actually being that's right.
a coach.
That's
Yeah.
right. Is you have to extract the intent of the desired outcome.
So why is it so hard for us to make that connection
Because-
to where I'm supposed to be a fiduciary, but then I'm not supposed to have a fiduciary? I'm not supposed to have any kind of
Fiduciary duty to myself.
Yeah.
The reason why it's hard is because we don't ask ourselves great questions. Truly, is the reason that it's hard is because the quality of our life is determined by the quality of the questions that we ask, and most people ask no questions or subpar questions.
Yeah.
Because if you sit down and you really put a minute's worth of time into thinking about what does a business look like that I would be really thrilled with and that would accomplish all of my hopes and dreams, it would start to really unpack what that would look like and really bring it into focus. But almost no one either takes the time or asks the right questions.
I sat and met with a guy the other day. He said he wants to make $1 million. And so he said, I want to make $1 million. And I said, and he just kept going. I was like, nope. Time out.
That's right.
Time out. You want to make $1 million? Let's see how that works and what that looks like.
By when? Yeah.
Yeah,
What will
so
that
we
do?
can stay
Yeah.
abstract. Everybody says, but guess what? You're doing this. And if you did this, so how do you get from this to this? And then breaking that down. And believe it or not, it's easier than you think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the next one is kind of similar to what you're actually just talking about, is be in alignment. Find out the overall goal or desired result and what you need to do, and do what you need to do to align with it.
This is the hardest thing for me. It was the hardest thing for me, is that some people pull and you push and you don't realize they're pulling. Does that make sense?
To some degree, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So like
It's like tug of war.
It's a tug of war. And then like personally, people do it in your family, people do it in your life. So like you got to make sure that you hire or you partner with people that are in alignment with you.
Here's the thing that for me though is that like when we look, this is where like I can at times Tyler and I will go down this rabbit hole, I'm sure, because we like to be in this philosophical, non-actual truth-based discussions, and that is like, is it actually even possible to be in alignment? With 50% of the marriages end in divorce because of alignment.
Yeah.
Is it really
totally
possible to be in a business marriage with alignment? And so that's the philosophical debate I have when I read that. And so it's probably why I've kind of scratched that one out as one that doesn't resonate as well with me. However, I think more about being in business with someone who is committed to wanting to find alignment.
Okay.
And so if I don't necessarily, I'll never be 100% fully aligned with Lauren. However, I believe that we will always collectively seek alignment, even if we never accomplish it.
Yeah. I don't think you're in alignment 100% of the time, but the ability to recognize that you guys aren't in alignment, and then to make the ability to have the ability to then, okay, this is where we're now going and pulling. The thing that I'm talking about is I've been married before, and when you're pulling this way and this one's pulling, and it's a mindset, and they're just pulling and you're just pushing. That's in your business.
Is that a
your
willingness?
life, that's where you need to get a divorce.
Is that a willingness? And like, is that willingness and flexibility, or willingness and openness to like seeing multiple perspectives? Because
So that's my fault. I married her.
well, okay, but let's
And
just
when
say,
I'm hiring somebody, that's my fault. I hired them. right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, listen, I mean, that's kind of the running thing that everyone talks about, right? Is like, it's too easy to place blame on everyone else. So place the blame on yourself. And the reality is 50% of marriages end in divorce. People are really good at lying. Mm-hmm. Like we grow up our entire lives lying to people for a living. I don't know why the hell we think that 7 interviews, 2 interviews, 3 interviews, we would actually see someone's highly complex and adaptive system of existence in a short interview process. It's too easy to blame the leader for everything.
Sure.
When there's a ton of luck and the complexity of human nature involved. And so I've kind of gotten swung the other direction that says people lie for a living. We all do. And so I'm not willing to like keep beating myself up over it over and over and over. I want to be in business with people who want to come to a reasonable alignment always, even if we never achieve it.
Okay.
Are we willing to?
There's a desire to.
Yeah. Are we willing to place our own ego and desires aside to have the transparency to communicate towards alignment? And if we are, then I think we can stay in business in perpetuity.
While that is still going on.
Yeah.
While we're still.
Yeah.
So I guess we're kind of saying the same thing. I'm saying like, as long as we're still willing.
Yeah.
And then, but if someone at some point in time, like I guess because I'm kind of dealing with this with someone in my life, and I just feel like from a mindset perspective, like when I'm pulling, she's pushing. So like at some point in time, do you like? I can't change that.
That's
like,
right.
That's
That's
so
right.
then you have to.
So for me, I look at it that goes, if there's value being brought by parties and the goal is to seek alignment and neither party is willing to quit, then we'll eventually find as close as possible to alignment as what it looks like. The best example I guess that I think of is that there was that red table talk with Will and Jada. And I feel like, do I need to add a last name or is
yeah, you
enough?
got it.
Okay.
We're good. We know who they are.
So Will and Jada do their red table talk, whatever it's called, red top table, something like that. Look it up on Facebook. But they talk about being married and yet neither one of them willing to quit, period. Like so damn stubborn and relentlessly committed towards not quitting that despite being out of alignment for multiple years, they were willing to share. They're like, we'll share a bed with each other's new partners, but we won't quit and get divorced. We will stay so damn committed to finding the end alignment that we won't tap out on this until eventually they accomplish that outcome. Those are the people that I want to be in business with. Those that don't shut down and quit when we fall out of alignment.
Actually, we've been talking about therapy so much, but that's actually when you do couples therapy, that's at least our therapist approach was like, are you guys both committed to like trying to understand each other? Are you actually both committed? Do you want to make this work long run? Because some people will go to therapy just to be like,
blame.
Yeah, I guess I'll go. And so it's like, she was one who was like, I'm not working with you guys. If one person doesn't want to do it, you're not going to get to alignment.
That's right. Yeah.
Good. You know what? I agree.
Well, I mean, listen, we've all, as a group, we've all said that that's something that we've done, right? Which means that there's a commitment towards resolving and finding alignment. Yeah. Instead of throwing in the towel.
Yeah.
And just saying, like, things are hard. We're out of alignment. I quit. I think that shows up on a track record oftentimes in an interview process.
Yeah.
By how many hops people have made in their career that are unrelated to life events, or significantly better opportunities.
Right.
I mean, despite the fact that as an entrepreneur, like I'm someone who's entrepreneurial, yet I have had long stints in places that I've worked.
Everywhere I've been,
even at times when I was unhappy, because the intent was to find that happiness. It wasn't the company's job to make me fulfilled.
Absolutely.
I wanted to add something from the book that we've got highlighted here about alignment, and what it ultimately is about values. It doesn't mean that you don't
So
get
much more succinct than what we just said.
I think that's the problem. We didn't define. So we're sitting here communicating a word, and for me that is one thing, and for you it's one thing, and the book is meaning another thing, and that's the issue that we all deal with in every facet of our life.
And to even add to it, it doesn't mean that you don't get to have your opinion about how things are being done, but it does mean that the work that you're doing and the work that your company does is meaningful to you. If not, it's hard to get excited, stay course, or be creative. So I do think it is important, like kind of going back to what we were talking about, and having kind of a specific destination. So if people kind of know like what they're doing this for, it makes it easier to do all the things and to bring up the ideas and have the challenging conversations.
I think that takes an adult approach, because I see a lot of people, I see a lot of real estate agents who are burnt out. In fact, we did an episode almost a year ago now that, almost 7 out of 10 Americans at one point in time were burnt out at work. And real estate agents have a really high burn rate. And I am blown away by that. And yes, the job can have no boundaries. And yes, the job can create work at any and all given hours of the day. And I get that. The perspective I have though is how do you get burnt out, or how do you not have fulfillment and understand that from a value perspective, you're adding a massive amount of value to someone's life when you do it right. That like at the end of the day, you're showing up to serve, which is one of the most thankless and tireless jobs that you can do. You almost never run out of energy when you're contributing. It is one of the spiritual needs of a person is to contribute. And when you really truly make peace and can visualize and understand that as a real estate agent, your job is to serve the person and their housing needs and make a life situation that is causing them pain and headache, make it better. How do you burn out on that?
It's all from the lift, man. So like I burned out.
Yeah.
And so when you're doing it for the wrong reasons, when you're doing it
for yourself, totally normal, by the way.
Selfish reasons, for I'm not want to say selfish. You're trying to get your family ahead.
That's right.
You're trying to build a legacy. And when you're lifting from the wrong spot, then it's heavy. The burden is really heavy, and you burn out.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm doing way more, and I'm doing way less. Like I feel like the energy in my burden level is because I'm coming from a different spot.
It's the ultimate business hack, I think, is when you understand that when you show up to serve, you have way more energy because you're unattached to the outcome. You're actually just serving the need of the person who's in front of you. And as so long as you understand that when you serve and add value, you receive value in return.
I think that actually is a nice segue into success strategy number 6, and that's be a partner. Value and respect others' talents and goals as well as your own. Because you're actually taking not just an approach of, okay, I'm just going to have to do this for you because I need a paycheck, or I have to do this because of blank. It's how can I be in alignment with where we're headed, so that we can take the approach of like, okay, so what's the best way to get there? What do we need to do to get there? Which then even goes all the way back to what we were talking about with being proactive versus reactive. So it's like when you it's almost like in the words that you use, it's being partnering with somebody is different, I feel like, than working for somebody. What do you think?
Oh, massively. And listen, here's the thing is we're going to see in the next 5 years, 10 years, partnerships and collaboration in business exponentially increase. And that's because there is a shortage in leadership. Above all in business, there are a number of different gaps, but what there is not a surplus of is people who are leaders.
Yeah.
And so in order for people to find in a disconnected world where we have social connection through a screen, we need to find partnerships and connections, collaboration. And oftentimes the easiest and best way to do that is by partnering and collaborating in business. And so as we become more digitally disconnected, we will become more partnered and collaborative in our business world over the next decade. If you look at what we've done in the last couple of weeks here with merging and partnering with Hergenrother Realty Group, it is 100% predicated on the concept of leaders working with other leaders, knowing that we get way further faster if no one cares about the credit.
Yeah.
And I've moved well past the idea of caring who gets the credit for it. And so now it's how do we do cool shit with cool people?
Look at my bank account, bitch.
and you know, I think about the PayPal mafia, right? It's like you create the most disruptive item of technology, you know, in the past 20 years for the banking system pre-crypto. And you look at digital disruption of banking, and that really was the PayPal movement. And, you know, it started with eBay, and then it went to every other aspect of banking. And the list of talent that was on the leadership roster at that time is insane. Many of them still working together on multiple projects off and on and getting way more done that way.
I talk about sports a lot. And so I talk about Michael and LeBron.
Yeah.
And so I'm showing my age. I'm always team Michael. But what Michael Jordan is individual, he's a great basketball player. And his ability to bring others around him to make them better was his superpower. What LeBron has taught me, LeBron is a CEO. He doesn't take people, well, he not only takes talent around him and makes them play better, he gets the best talent.
Yeah, he's a hell of a recruiter.
He recruits
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan didn't do that.
Yeah, that's right. That is one of the best observations, I think, from LeBron is that people just trashed
Then they poo-poo him for it, but
they
you know
trashed
what? It's
him. That's
genius.
Right. And I probably did too, by the way.
And
I did not like LeBron
but I
for a
wasn't
while.
You know what? As a CEO, now that I'm a CEO
Yeah.
and I see what LeBron did, I give LeBron mad props
Yeah,
because
that's right.
guess what? Everybody else was telling him you had to have this guy and this guy, and Mike had. You know what? How many rings does LeBron have, or whatever?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so he's going, I don't care if I'm the one who gets the credit. I want the ring, damn it.
I want the ring.
That's a big, and that's a really, that level of maturity or that level of selflessness from an athlete really didn't show up much before that.
He was the first.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you could go the Boston Celtics when they did.
Yeah.
But
Those guys
he
are
was
old.
the first that actually would go out
Yeah.
and be like, "Hey, let's go. We play basketball during the summer. Why don't we team up on the Lakers or whatever that is?"
Yep.
So that to me is how we are running our business. There's some people that are recruiting raggedy people,
That's right.
and they don't have the ability to break those raggedy people better. Or you can be LeBron.
Absolutely. And then just go recruit really talented people around you to be partners with you. I think it's a heck of a lot faster to do it that way.
And you can do it for 20 years
Yeah.
versus Mike. It took him 10 years and he had to develop all the talent around him. And then the end of his year. So like, you want to come in, boom.